ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott and I'm the Emperor of Stomaria. Today I want to discuss the Imperial Summit 2025. Now, for those that don't know, the Imperial Summit is an annual event within the Empire of Stomaria where the citizens and supporters of Stamaria and the wider empire can come together along with invited guests to celebrate our successes, to build bridges with one another and to lay out our plans for the future. It's an event that's featured feasting, competitions, workshops, stalls, speeches, ceremonies, and even a bouncy castle for the little ones. And for the past 2 years, we've hosted the Imperial Summit at Southwood and Wayward South, which are two adjoining provinces of the Empire that are governed by Stamaria and Wayward, respectively. Now, this year, we will also be hosting the Imperial Summit at Southwood and Wayward South. But this particular event, this year, is going to be very important because it could be the very last year that we hold the Imperial Summit at Southwood and Wayward South, as our plans for later in the year is to acquire and develop more land, some of which may be suitable for the next Imperial Summit in 2026. Now, the Imperial Summit that we hosted last year in 2024 was not as grand an affair as it could have been, and a large part of that has to do with the fact that it was very last minute. And the reason for that was that we wanted to keep our powder dry. We wanted to preserve our financial resources, our energy, our time, and put it into something else in preparation for a larger push in 2025, which is where we're at now. However, my OCD would not allow a gap in the records. That is to say, the Imperial Summit is an annual event, and to have it in 2023, but not in 2024, but then to have it in 2025, 2026, 2027, and so on and so forth, that gap would irk me for the rest of my days. And so the Imperial Summit was hosted in 2024, although we only had a little over 2 months from memory to actually put this together. Whereas for the Imperial Summit 2023, we had over 6 months of planning and preparation time in order to actually pull it off. And it shows. Nevertheless, a lot of lessons were learned in 2024, and as is always the case with me, I never fail. I either win or I learn. And so the lessons that we did learn in 2024 were going to be put to good use in 2025. So the first thing that I did in order to maximize potential attendance is sent out an email in December 2024 to the citizens and supporters of Stamaria and the wider empire to see which weekend date in June would be most appropriate for them, what would work best for the most people. And in doing so, we were able to select a date that maximized this potential attendance, the most people able to attend on that particular weekend. Now, the reason that we hold the Imperial Summit in June is twofold. The first is that June is a celebratory month for Stamaria. It's not only when Stamaria was founded in June 2019, but it was also when, in the following year, in June 2020, we had the first ever Stamarian-born citizen, that being my daughter, Princess Eleanor. And so June is a very special month, not just for Stamaria, but also for the imperial family. Now, the other reason is that June is obviously a far nicer time to be outside, to be out and about, to do the camping and all the rest of it. And because the Imperial Summit has been for the last 2 years and will be this year an outdoor event, it is a lot more pleasing for a lot of people to be out and about during the June weather as opposed to something earlier or later in the year. Now, with the feedback that I've received, I can confirm that the Imperial Summit will be hosted on the 6th, 7th and 8th of June 2025. With the 6th of June being the Friday, typically being considered the arrival day for those coming further afield, and then they'll either stay on the land or they'll stay in a local B&B or a hotel or something to that effect, with the main event happening on Saturday the 7th, and that's when we'll have the competitions, the feasting, the speeches, the ceremonies, the workshops and all that jazz as and when they happen. And then on the 8th is the wind down day, the departure day. It's when people will say their fond farewells if they haven't already left the day before, and everything will be wound down, packed away, and that will be the end of the summit. And that is how typically we have operated in the last 2 years, and I don't see any reason to change it. It's worked quite effectively in times past. And it also means that I don't have to be in the formal garb, the formal regalia the entire time. I can just come in sort of more casually on the 6th and the 8th, and then on the 7th, on the main day, I will come in the more formal attire for everyone to gawk at. And that has, as I said, worked relatively well in the past, and that is how we're going to be hosting it this year as well. The next thing I want to look at is the food situation, because last year we overegged it. There was far too much food and it ruined the experience a little bit. And that is to say, when we actually hosted the Imperial Summit last year, I wanted to make sure that everyone was as full as could be, in the sense that I didn't want anyone to go hungry. I didn't want anyone to think I'm not enjoying myself because I got an empty tummy. Now, that is not an unreasonable position to be in. But the problem is, as I said, I overegged it. We had a barbecue on the Friday evening, the arrival day. And then on the Saturday morning, the main event day, there was a full English breakfast on offer. And then there was obviously the feast that we had later in the day. And by the time you got to the feast, which is one of the main events of the Imperial Summit, it's where we're literally breaking bread with one another. And there's a nice spread of food, and everyone can typically enjoy themselves. But because we'd had the barbecue the night before and the full English breakfast that very morning, everyone was just far too full to actually enjoy the feast itself. And so a lot of food did get wasted. So for this year, we are going to still have 5 meals. We're going to have something on the Friday evening, we're going to have something on the Saturday morning, we're going to have the actual feast at lunchtime on Saturday, we're going to have something in the evening on the Saturday, and we're going to have breakfast the following morning on the Sunday. However, all of these meals, excluding the actual feast itself, are going to be very, very, very light. It's not going to be full English breakfast. It's not going to be a full barbecue, whatever else. We perhaps might have the barbecue on the evening on the Saturday, but that aside, everything else is going to be quite light. And that is to make sure that people will actually be able to enjoy the food when it actually comes, as opposed to turning their nose up at it or feeling physically ill, having to force down more and more food because they didn't want it going to waste. And so that way, I'm hoping a lot more people will be able to enjoy the experience a lot more. Now, in addition to trying to maximize potential attendance and better managing the food situation, I also want there to be more to do at the Imperial Summit. That is to say, we've had the stalls, we've had competitions, we've had workshops and all the rest of it in the past, but I want there to be more of that. I want people to be more engaged more of the day. Now, a lot of instances, there are going to be people who are just going to want to have casual conversations with friends and family and all the rest of it, but I want people to have the opportunity to actually partake in activities within the Imperial Summit itself. I want people to leave the Imperial Summit with a sense of pride and a sense of excitement for the future. I want people to be able to look at the Imperial Summit now and then the Imperial Summits in the future and see how far we have come, how far we have progressed, where a handful of people became a dozen people, became dozens of people, became hundreds and then thousands. I want people to be able to see with their own eyes how we have grown, how we have developed, and how far we have come. That all aside, the reason I want to make a special effort this year isn't just because it's potentially the last time we'll be doing it as Southward and Wayward South, or that we want to highlight how far we have progressed and how far we have come, but it's also the first time that we are going to be expecting attendees from abroad. And if people are going to be traveling overseas to come to us and to actually attend the Imperial Summit, that is something that I am very appreciative of, and I want to make an effort to make sure that it's worth their while. So from my perspective, putting in that extra effort, going that extra mile, is going to make the event a lot more special this year. Now, as always, the Imperial Summit is obviously about Stamaria and the member states of the Empire. That shouldn't be a major surprise. But nevertheless, this is an event that's open to everyone. Everyone can attend should they wish. However, it is also something that people need to tell us that they're going to attend. You can't just show up on the day and expect to be welcomed in with open arms. That's just not how it works. You need to be able to confirm attendance with us. It's a free event, it's open to everyone, but we do need to make sure that the people that are attending are confirmed by us before the actual event itself. So if you are interested in attending, then please do let us know at your earliest convenience. If you want to learn more about Stamaria or play an active role in our development and expansion, visit our website at www.stamaria.com and find out what it means to be a Stamarian.